At one time, there was a horse and buggy trail that came down the hillside here, past Maynell Point to Rauhala, and it came down the hill here, and what you're seeing is the remnants of a bridge that went off of that horse and buggy trail going down the hill. And this bridge, the remnants here, was built by my grandmother Toots and my mom, Nancy Polton, and my uncle James Polton when they lived here at Rauhala. And this is all that's left of that bridge coming off of the horse and buggy trail. And I'll show you what the horse and buggy trail looks like. There's a network of trails going through the Hemlock and Salal here. And I'm just fencing it off. These trails were made by the cow, our cow Curly, that we have out at Rauhala. You can see over there. And I'm just blocking off her way out of the farm because it's easy access for the cow to get past here and go up that horse and buggy trail that goes to Maynell Point on the bluff. So at one point in time, Caliva Road ended just before Maynell Point. And there was just a horse and buggy trail going up through what was the Poto farm. And the Poto farm was on the bluff at Maynell Point, or Rauhala Kallio, Poton Kallio at the beginning of Caliva Road. And this horse and buggy trail, they had a proviso to go through the old Poto farm, and it came down here and went through Rauhala, and part of what we call today our beach campsite is what is left of that horse and buggy trail. And it is a beautiful day again here at Rauhala. My mom's over there sitting on the bench enjoying the view. You're looking out at Rauhala to the Bay of Peace. And spring is definitely in the air. Alright, I'm going to take a walk down this trail here. This trail was made by our cow, Curly. You can see she's left a few plops here. And I'm just checking to see how exactly the cow's getting off the property and going back to my uncle's yard on Cleaver Road, because we want to keep her on the farm until the grass grows. But as you can see, she's grazing the salal in here pretty heavily, and she made this cool trail for us to walk. And this takes us to the edge of our property where it begins at the bluffs at Maynell Point. You can see the cow's been right through here, but she can't really get up the bank into the neighbor's yard. Up there on the ledge there, you see is the remnants of the horse and buggy trail. But I'm going to go this way towards the trail. Looks like the cow's been through. I see her footprints, but it'd be quite the steep trek for her to get up through there, so I'm not worried about her getting out this way. So I will fence some more towards our beach campsite there. But I'm just going to show you this little trail that the cow made all the way to the beach. There's private property signs here along our edge of our property line. Our property ends over there a little ways under a stump. And I'm just going to show you this little trail down to the beach. And we're looking out at the water here at Rauhala. And here we are back at the beach campsite. And I'm just following along the beach from our beach campsite. That is the road to our gate. And I'm going to walk this way along the beach. This was all a horse and buggy trail in 2007, we built the roads through Rauhala. Before then, there was just a trail when I was a kid at the gate, and you had to walk through this little trail in the forest to get to the farm. Either that or you'd have to get here by boat because the bluff blocked beach access. This is one of our outhouses. We built them back in 2014 for a LARP event that we hosted a couple of years. We did live action role-playing games out here. I'm following the horse and buggy trail heading out towards our creek. I'm not going to be able to go any further because there's all this erosion, and in the winter we notice more and more erosion happening along our banks here. But this is at the mouth of the creek at Rauhala, called Rauhala, which means the place of peace is creek. And we're looking out towards Rauhala. Now you probably noticed this boat here. That's my brother's old fishing boat, the Sunwind. And before my brother, it belonged to a famous author by the name of Harry Allen, who wrote a couple fishing books on commercial fishing along the coast of British Columbia. But as you can see, I can't follow the horse and buggy trail any further this way because of the erosion here. So I will take a detour, head back this way, and show you the rest of our horse and buggy trail going along Rauhala. So while I'm walking to get to the next spot I want to show you here, might as well talk a little bit about history here. So after the fall of the Call of Incansa in 1904 or 1905, the lands on Malcolm Island were crown granted to people, and Rauhala was crown granted to a man by the name of Emil Takala. And the neighboring farms beside us, heading towards Cleaver Road on the bluff at Maynell Point, was John Poto. And beside that, which is now actually 3 properties, part of it is the lodge, was Matti Holmanen's farm. And Matti Holmanen is famous for writing the first history of Sointala in 1936. Alright, so I'm approaching this spot I want to show you, so I'm going to switch the camera view and take a detour off our road, heading into the woods here. Looks like the cow has been through here. There's a couple plops here down on the ground. I'll show you the creek from this vantage point here too. So if you were in the spring looking at Rauhala, this is what she looks like. So I am going to come down the hill over there. There's a bridge crossing the creek. You can't really see it very clearly from here, but that is where the horse and buggy trail crosses the creek and goes on to our first field. Up there, you could just see the first field up there. All right, let's show you the rest of the horse and buggy trail. So I'm gonna climb down the bank here. And just down the bank is just a little ways past where that washout was by the Sunwind. And carrying along here, you can see this flat area. That is the rest of the horse and buggy trail heading off towards the bridge. So I'll just climb down here and show you a little bit of the scenery here. Now this is kind of cool. I call it the dancing pig. It's a piece of driftwood that I picked up off the beach. It looks like a pig dancing. I fenced off this. Was my uncle's car. It was his first vehicle when he was like 17 years old. And when they lived here at Rauhala in the late 50s, early 60s. And this is the vehicle that they would drive across the horse and buggy trail, which used to go along here. You can see the Sunwind there. And I was on the other side in the last clip I was showing you. and the horse and buggy trails used to come along here, and they used to be able to drive through here in the summer, but then in the winter you couldn't drive along that trail. So at the time, my uncle was just a teenager, and there was no highway coming up from Kelsey Bay up to the northern end of Vancouver Island. There were just logging roads. So to get a vehicle at that time onto Malcolm Island, you would have to book sometimes a month in advance to have it crane lifted onto a ship that would bring them up onto the islands. So to have a car when you were like a teenager in the 50s and 60s was pretty special. And this is a nursing log that someone stayed on our farm a few years back and painted this cool mural on the log. And I'll carry on down towards the creek. Show you this really quick. I made these little history books and little blurbs. If you open it up, it tells a bit of the history of my uncle's car. If you're out exploring Rauhala when you're a guest on our property or on one of my tours, you'll notice these. So I'm just heading up towards the creek here now, looking off. You can see just across the creek there is a boathouse, and that's a very old boathouse. It's over 100 years old. I have seen pictures of it when it was new from our old farmhouse, and it's a lot different now. But they used to bring these big dory boats up and put them up in boathouses in the winter times, and this was one of the places where they would do that, at the mouth of the creek at Rauhala. Now, my dad grew up in the 1920s, 1930s, and he said when he was a kid, the beaches weren't full of all these logs. And it wasn't until logging happened along the coast of BC here, where they would tow the logs through the area, then logs started washing up on the beach. And it's a combination of a ditch building project, which I will bring up in another video, that happened in the Hungry 30s, and the introduction of these logs onto the beach and sediment from the ditch digging, which brought sediment into our creek, that stopped the fish from coming up the creek here at Rauhala. Now I will show you here too, just off to my side, is the bridge I was talking about. And there's not much left of it. You can't walk across it anymore. You used to be able to walk across it, and I used to even be able to drive across when my mother lived here. Now, I don't think I could go up here, so I will cut this video off, and maybe I'll drive over to the other side and talk some more. So, you know about John Poto now, who bordered Rauhala at Maynell Point, and it was crown granted to John Poto in 1907. Emil Tokla, who was crown granted Rauhala in 1907, and Matti Holmanen, who was crown granted the property in 1907 that borders Rauhala closer to the end of Cleaver Road. But this horse and buggy trail goes from where the end of Cleaver Road once was, and goes through the Poto farm, the old Poto farm, which is now several properties. The only property that hasn't been subdivided is Rauhala. And then it came through our beach campsite area. Wasn't a campsite back then, but it went through our beach campsite area along the waterfront there to our creek and crossed the creek at the bridge. Now, going past Rauhala, there were 6 bachelors who lived and homesteaded past Rauhala. I don't know the names of all 6 of them, but one was named Henrik Mura, and he was a book builder, or a bookbinder, and I will talk more about him in a future video. I'll probably even go out to the old homestead. And the other guy was named Kalle Salo, and I'll talk more about him too, because there's a lot to discuss about Kalle Salo. Now, Kalle Salo had a horse named Peggy, and he had this horse and buggy that he would take along Cleaver Road and gather firewood and come through the trail and go out past Rauhala out to his homestead. And yeah, so the trail has been known as Peggy's Trail after Peggy the horse. So now I'm up in the first field here, walking down towards the creek where the bridge used to cross. Can't see much of it, but that is the bridge where all those hemlock trees are growing on it, coming along the creek here. And the trail, as you can see, went up around, and over there is the old farmhouse, and then spun around down this way. This is what remains of an old sauna at Rauhala. It's over 100 years old, and it's made using that Finnish dovetail technique, where they would cut grooves in the logs and put them together. Unfortunately, people have come and broke into it. The roof was still standing in the 2020s, and they've ripped it down and come in through the back side of it. But you could see the beautiful straight and even shakes that are just as tall as I am. No knots in them whatsoever. Beautiful, beautiful wood. And looking down here towards the creek, the bridge is over there going under. I don't know if you could really make it out, but the creek's going this way. Horse and buggy trails coming down. Here's that old boathouse from the other side of the creek. What's left of it. It too has been vandalized recently as well, unfortunately. And I'll just look up behind me here so you could get a better view of the horse and buggy trail coming down the hill. Looking at the creek. And the horse and buggy trail went down here. There's a lot of little beach access spots. And it followed along the bottom of our hillside here. On top of the hill is our first field. Up there. And this horse and buggy trail just went along the bottom of the hillside here, following the beach. Take a detour here and show you the water. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. Now, I'm not going to follow the whole horse and buggy trail because there's a lot to discuss about this area, and I will be exploring it more in the future. Very, 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 very beautiful right now, the sun coming through the trees. I'm going to go up the hillside here. You can see there is this path built into the hillside going up here, and you'll see these old time paths in various locations on Malcolm Island, and they were built as access points going up the hill. This one goes up to our second field in behind the cabins. And there are the cabins there. Looking down, you can see the horse and buggy trail from above. All right, well, I'm going to cut this video off and make some more videos in the future. There's a lot to talk about, especially out here at Rauhala, so I'll just break each video up into little sections. This one will be about just the horse and buggy trail and a little bit of the early history of Rauhala, introducing you to some of the old timers who first settled in the area. And yeah, so I will talk more about the history of Rauhala and the surrounding area, Malcolm Island and Northern Vancouver Island, in future videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Ciao.